My name is Rachel. For those of you who have seen my videos before, welcome back. For those of you who have not, well, hello anyway. Thank you for watching. As you can probably tell from the title, today I'm going to be talking about my life as a quadriplegic. This glare is going to be really annoying, so let me just take those off. I think it's time, finally, to talk about it with everyone and let the world know that this is my life and how I got here. So hopefully someone out there can make better decisions than me. So let me tell you. It all started when I was 19 years old, 5 years and 1 month ago. It was June 13th, 2013 that I had my injury. It all started because, well, first I was a freshman in college, and I was hanging out with a lot of different people and playing rugby and just going to parties and doing everything I could to live the college life. I wanted to be a nurse at the time as well, and I was really doing everything but focusing on school, and it was just a crazy year. I was so stressed out, realizing how much work it was to be a full-time college student, and I realized I wasn't handling it very well. And so I was under so much stress, and finally I decided, after kind of barely passing freshman year, I decided I really need to focus more on school if I want to meet my goals in life. And so I transferred to a college that's more low-key and started doing summer classes and really getting good grades. I moved back home with my parents as opposed to living on campus, and I got a job where I felt like I was making decent money and working all the time, even while I was taking summer classes in the summer of 2013. And I felt better about my life. I felt less stressed out, but still like I'd been through enough where I really wanted a break. I wanted a vacation. And I have this friend who lives a whole state away from me. We'll call her Anne. And Anne and I have been friends since we were 8 years old. But because I moved several times throughout my life, I moved when we were 10, and I had only gotten a chance to see her again when we were both 16. So at this time, we were both 19, and I talked to Anne on the phone and said, "Hey, I really want to visit you." So we agreed that I'd come visit her. Well, at the time, I was also pretty money hungry because I wanted to move out from my parents' house and live on my own. So, and everyone at work told me, like, "Hey, if you don't tell the manager that you're very available for him, he's not going to give you hours anymore." So when my manager came up to me and asked me what's my availability for the next week, I said, "Whenever you need me." Now, of course, the next week was when I was planning to visit Anne. Well, because I told him I'm available whenever he needs me, he scheduled me 5 10-hour shifts, which was pretty typical, which I enjoyed at the time, but of course, now this is going to get in the way of my vacation plans. So I called my friend Anne and I said, "Hey, I tried really hard to get work off, but I couldn't get it off. Sorry." Left her voicemail, And just like that, our trip was canceled. My trip was canceled. But one day I got off work and I was having a fantastic day. I felt like nothing could make my day better. I had performed very well at work. I was getting along so well with everyone I worked with. I came home just feeling elated, and I thought the only thing that can make my day better is if I go visit Anne right now. And I looked at the time, and it was midnight, and I thought, if I pack all my things, clean my house, and leave right now, it's a 7-hour drive, 7.5-hour drive to visit her. I'll be there right first thing in the morning when she wakes up, and she'll be so surprised. So I did. I packed all my things, cleaned my house, and it was exactly 2 in the morning when I left. Didn't tell a soul. No one knew at this point that I was planning on just spontaneously driving across an entire state. But, yeah, that's what I decided to do. And mind you, I hadn't even slept very well the night before. And then I had worked 10 hours. And so I was driving very sleep deprived. And after a while, I kind of did one of these. My head was bobbing, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, that's weird." And I kind of shook it off, and I thought, also at one point, how did I get to this point in the road? Where am I exactly? How far have I gotten? And I didn't know the answers to any of those questions, which should have been concerning. And it was a little concerning, but again, just kind of shook those thoughts away like, oh, whatever, gotta keep going. It must have just been a couple of moments later that I actually fell asleep. I remember feeling my head down and my eyes closed and thinking, Rachel, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't remember. Oh, you're sleeping. But wait, weren't you driving? You're sleeping and driving. Wake up. And I saw I had drifted through 2 lanes and was headed toward the corner of a highway divider on my left. And I turned the car. I woke up and just swerved the car, split second from hitting that, and avoided a head-on collision with that. But in doing so, I lost control of my vehicle, fishtailed across the road and back through the right side of the road and through the side rail and rolled my car into a deep, deep ditch. And the whole time I was thinking, this isn't happening. This is not real. This can't be real. This must be a dream. Wake up. But then I thought to myself, no, if I'm dreaming, then I'm still sleeping. And I distinctly remember leaving the house and getting in the car, so I have the same problem. We got the same problem here if this is a dream. This is not a dream. This really just happened. I am messed up. I done screwed up. So, after my car stopped rolling, it rolled twice. The dust and the dirt and the glass was all settling, and I just kept thinking to myself, I can't believe this happened. I'm gonna die. I'm going to die. Because, well, my first thought was that the car would explode, because I watched too many action movies, and I thought that's what happens when cars wreck. They just spontaneously blow up. So that didn't happen, but then I thought, okay, well, I'm still gonna die. I'm sure I'll bleed to death, because aside from all of the glass and dirt falling everywhere and settling, I heard another sound, which was actually my blood dripping off of me. I didn't know how much blood I was losing, but it seemed like a lot. It sounded like a lot, and so I thought, well, I'm surely gonna bleed to death. But then that didn't happen. And so I thought, well, I know I'm going to die, because at this point, several minutes have passed, and I've heard car after car after car go by me and just pass me up. No one has stopped. They just keep driving. I hear them driving, and no one can see me down here. That was one of the scariest realizations that I hoped wasn't true, but I knew was true, is that no one could see me down in the ditch. So I only made it about an hour and a half into my trip, and so it was about 3:30 in the morning, and I had a black car that was a Chrysler LHS, so it's kind of a low-riding car as well, so I was really deep down there and just no one could see me at all. And I just knew, this is it for me. I am going to die. And knowing you're going to die, I have to say, is the worst feeling I've ever felt. Knowing that I was going to hurt everybody I'd ever cared about and everyone who'd ever cared about me, and I'm going to hurt them all in probably the worst way possible, all at once. That I couldn't stop thinking about that, how I was going to just hurt everyone, and with no warning, just no communication, just gone. Me just gone. And I thought how disappointed my family would be, and I thought what it would do, how it would tear my brother and my father apart, and my mother apart, and how much that would hurt each and every one of them. And that's when I realized, I mean, I didn't just realize, but something came into my head. A voice came to me and told me, no, that's not how it's going to be. Your family is not going to be shattered. You are not going to die here. You are going to get out of this. You are going to make it through this. So get through this. And after that voice came into my head, everything changed. I went from thinking I was going to die to trying to figure out a game plan for how I was going to live. And pretty much I've been doing the same thing ever since. So at that point, I stopped crying. I had started to cry. I think my eyes watered. I don't even think a tear actually shed down my face, had slid down my cheek. I had started to get teary-eyed, but that voice came into my mind, and I wasn't feeling distraught anymore. I was in survival mode. So I kept coming up with plans. I started coming up with plans. Okay, first, I can unbuckle my seatbelt, crawl to the road, wave and flag down a car. Okay, well, after my injury, I knew, first of all, that my back was broken. I remember looking down and thinking my legs might as well be part of this car because I cannot feel them at all. They're just not my legs anymore. And then I couldn't move my arms with any sort of coordination. I could kind of, reach one out a tiny bit and then it was shaking like that. And so I thought maybe I have a brain injury and that's why I can't coordinate my arm movements. I had no idea I actually broke my neck. Again, too many action movies, but I thought that when you break your neck, you die. Or maybe you're like Christopher Reeve. But no, you can break your neck and live. What do you know? I also, I guess at the time, didn't realize how injured I really was because unbuckling my seatbelt to even complete the first part of that plan was out of the question. Couldn't do it. Couldn't coordinate the movements. Couldn't press the button. So that was out. So my next plan, maybe I can, turn on my headlights. If I have a headlight that's still functional, maybe I can turn that on and then someone has to see me. Well, I reached out and I couldn't even reach my key in the ignition. My arm could not complete that movement whatsoever. So plan 2 was out. So plan number 3, there was this little button on the steering wheel to honk the horn. And I just knew if I can reach that button, I can honk the horn. The horn still has to work. And someone will hear me and I will be saved. Now, even though I'm only 5'3", I would always drive with my driver's seat all the way at the furthest back position as if I'm like 6 feet tall. I don't know why, but I like to lean back when I drive. So I would drive like all the way like this with my hand at the bottom of the steering wheel. Don't know why. Not very smart. Not very good for being an attentive driver either. Probably part of the reason I fell asleep. Anyway, so I had to really reach out to be able to press this button. And I reached and I could touch the button, but I could not press it. To this day, I struggle to press buttons because the muscles that allow your arm to push on things, for me, those are paralyzed. My triceps are paralyzed. So I tried again, and I tapped the button, but I couldn't press it to honk the horn. And so I tried again, and I still couldn't do it. And I thought to myself, I'm either going to keep trying and I'm going to honk this horn, or I'm going to give up and die. So I sat there tapping this button again and again and again and again for 4 hours. For about 4 hours until someone saved me. So during those 4 hours, I also was very worried, like I said, that I had a brain injury. And also I knew I was at least concussed severely. And so I did not want to fall asleep, and I did not want to, I wanted to make sure that I was cognitively intact as well. So I started speaking to myself out loud, and the whole time I keep slumping over to the side and pushing myself back up and slumping over because I just didn't have the energy or the core muscles working to sit up straight. So I kept just slumping and pushing myself up the whole time. And I was also tapping the button, and I was speaking to myself. And so I started playing little games. Like, I tried to go through the alphabet, for example, and come up with a vocabulary word for each letter. And I was coming up with words that I didn't even know that I knew. And I told myself, wow, Rachel, you're smart when you're dying. And then I also was playing little games, like as I heard the cars going by above me. Initially when I got in my accident, I was trying to yell for help. I was trying to scream for help at the top of my lungs. But because of the extent of my injury and the shock to my body and my lungs not even working at full capacity, I was not able to scream at all. In fact, when I tried to scream, all I let out was the quietest whimper. And so I was like, help, 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 help. That's probably louder than I actually was. But you get the picture. So anyway, that's what I was doing initially when I was injured. Later on, when I was playing games with myself and telling myself jokes, I started mocking myself from hours before. And so each time I heard a car approaching, I would go, help, 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 and then vroom, and it would pass me. And I would be like, psh, whatever, I can walk. And then the next car would come, help, 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 vroom, and then I would be like, your car's ugly anyway. And I was coming up with different reasons for each car that passed me that, why they couldn't stop and help me. And then I tried to do my alphabet backwards at one point, and I realized I couldn't do the alphabet backwards, and I was like, oh my god, I do have a brain injury. And then I was like, psh, dang, Rachel, you couldn't do that before. Anyway. So yeah, that was a thing. And then aside from the little jokes and games, I was just thinking about when I would see everyone I love again, when I would see my friends and my family and tell them what happened. And, woo, this was going to be a heck of a story to tell Anne. And just couldn't wait to get back to work and school and living my life. And I just knew I would. But after hours of sitting in the car, and it felt like so much time was going by, and I was running out of jokes to tell myself, and I was running out of games to play, and things to say to myself to keep myself entertained and awake. And I was running out of energy again. I kept slumping over and over onto my center console and pushing myself back upright, but I was running out of energy to keep doing that. And finally, towards the end of these 4 hours, I just didn't have the energy anymore. I didn't have the mental energy, emotional energy, physical strength, any of it. And I felt myself giving up. And I started thinking, you know what? And I could barely open my eyes at this point. And I thought, you know what? Maybe no one is coming. Maybe no one is going to save me. I felt myself slumping over, and I just couldn't find the strength to push myself back up. And so I slumped lower and lower. And I knew that if you have a brain injury or even a concussion, you should not lay down and go to sleep. But I felt like that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I thought, you know what? I might die here. I just can't do it anymore. I tried my best, and I guess I had a pretty good life. I wish I had done some things differently, but there's no sense regretting it now. I'm so tired, and so I'm sorry to my family, and I hope they know how much I love them. And I really want to go to sleep now. And so I let myself slump over, and I started to just completely close my eyes. And I was just about to go to sleep when all of a sudden I heard this chirping. I heard birds chirping. And I thought to myself, well, that's weird, Rachel. Birds are not nocturnal. They get up in the morning. There's no way it's morning, is it? It's still nighttime, right? But no, I heard the birds chirping, and I thought it has to be morning. And that means it's going to be daylight, and someone will see me. And so I opened my eyes, and sure enough, I saw the sky, which looked like such a bright blue sky. And I'm sure it wasn't that bright at the time, but to me, it looked absolutely radiant. And so I pushed myself up, and I pushed myself so hard that I not only was no longer leaning on the center console, but I was leaning on my passenger side door now, or on my driver's side door now, and I wasn't going to fall over anymore. And I don't know how I found the strength to push myself up like that, but I did. And I looked out the window, and I thought, wow, it's daytime. Someone has to see me now. Someone will save me now. And sure enough, someone did. It was a truck driver who happens to be from the same city that I live in, and he saw that there was no cone or tape or anything where the broken side rail was, so that means it must have been a very recent accident. And so he very intentionally was looking down in the ditch to see if anyone was down in there. And that's when he saw me. He called Highway Patrol. They sent an ambulance and a police officer. And the police officer, first I heard the siren, and I heard it in the distance just like all the other vehicles. I heard, and I heard it getting louder, and then it got quieter again. And I was like, what? Ain't that some There's an ambulance on this same highway and it's not for me? Just my luck. I was so mad. But no, it was for me. And I thought it was an ambulance, but I guess it was the police officer who found me first. And not long after I heard the siren did I hear some footsteps coming around the front of my car. And around to the side, to the driver's side door. And I saw this man bend down and say, "Hey, ma'am, are you all right?" And I looked at him with my broken neck. Said, "All right, man, I'm doing great. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by." I was so happy. That was the best moment. One of the best moments of my life. That's where my memory gets a little bit blurry, because I guess they probably drugged me up, and I guess they cut me out of the car with the jaws of life. I got a helicopter ride to a hospital back in the city where I'm from. I spent 5 days in ICU. They wouldn't let me eat or drink anything. They had to make sure I was able to swallow. They also did a surgery on my neck because my C6 and C7 vertebrae were next to each other. We were just hanging out buddy-buddy when they should have been like that. So they popped them back in place. Other than breaking my neck, I was fairly stable. I didn't have any other serious injuries. And then I spent well over a year in rehab. A year in inpatient rehab, at 2 different rehabilitation facilities, and then about 6 months in outpatient rehab. And then I went on to just live my life, which is much easier said than done when you have a serious injury. And I don't know what else to say from here. There's so much I could talk about, but I think it should be in several more videos because this one's already quite long. I just really wanted to finally put my story out there. I realized it was time, and I kept thinking to myself, why haven't I done this yet? After 5 years, why haven't I shared my story with a more broad audience? And I always make excuses like, oh, I'm too tired, which I am. I do have chronic fatigue, but I'm too tired, or oh, I don't look pretty today, or I'm not wearing the right outfit, or this or that, or I don't have the time. But really it's just that it's hard to talk about. And even though I've shared it with so many people now and just all types of different groups, but it's hard to actually videotape it and put it out there for the whole world to know the mistakes that I've made. But I don't view what I've been through as just ultimately negative. What I've been through has taught me so much. I've come into contact with so many incredible people, whether it has been my physical therapists and caretakers or other people going through a similar situation. I've been taught to really appreciate life and to empathize with others more so than ever before. No matter what, if I can help even one person by putting my story out there, then it's worth it. I hope that other people can learn to make better decisions when it comes to driving sleep deprived, because there were so many signs that I was sleep deprived and should not have been on the road, and I was driving with my windows up and some relaxing music on, and my car was warm, and like I said, I was leaned back. It was a terrible setup. I was not set up for success. I was set up to fall asleep, and that's exactly what happened. And so I hope that other people can make better choices, or if you're feeling tired on the road, don't risk it. Just pull over. There is nothing that's worth your life, because I came very close to losing mine. Even with the challenges that I have now, even with the impairments that I still have, I have so much to be thankful for, because initially, right after my injury, I couldn't even feed myself. I couldn't even lift my own arm to touch my face. So I've come a long, long way, and I'm so thankful for each and every person who has been a part of my journey. And wherever you are on your life's journey, just stay grateful, stay humble, and keep pushing on. Because you never know what's going to happen in life, but the only way that you can truly fail in life is when you stop trying. So I think I'm going to stop this right there, because otherwise this video is going to be an hour long, and no one needs that. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully next video will be more fun, or if there's anything you all want to know about me, leave your questions, leave your comments, and I love you all. Stay beautiful.